And we're going to get started. I said 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus PCC. So that's a pretty good guess on my part. Because it's 7.5. I guess there would be 8 attendees, is what that was about. And the elevator pump. That's that sound. I assume there wouldn't be a full classroom, not simply because I am boring, but because this is a very specific topic about opening a second practice, opening a second location, or even just opening a new location, because sometimes our clients straight up move. Yes, and some have a lot. Actually, there are a couple of people in here with a lot. A couple multi-figure practice. By like 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, and a lot, not an empty lot. Yes, yes. I'm not that funny today. And this was originally a class to be given in 2 parts. One of which was I was going to sort of talk about some of the theoretical things that we want you to think about, or I want you to think about from a practice management perspective, and then Kathy Cotter was going to follow to talk about a bunch of PCC elements. But Kathy Cotter has been called away. So I'm going to be doing her slides. Her slides are way better than mine. So once the slides get good, as you will see, that's all Kathy's work. I mean, how many people in here have multiple locations? 1, 2, like, you guys should be giving this class. I'm giving a class to, all right. Everyone look at Karen, because she needs the advice and the guidance, and she has a lot.
I have a lot.
Yeah, so everyone. Yeah, she has one. You have a lot. That's a start. But we're going to walk through what you need to know and do and think. And since there are a number of you in here who have multiple locations, and we have viewers at home, and this is being recorded, please feel free to point out the things that I forgot to share, okay? So let's start at the beginning. Let me turn this on. It's all right? Boom. So it is remarkable. I should begin by saying it is remarkable how often one of you, our clients, call PCC to say, we just opened a new location today. Can you help us set it up? That happens. Lewis Lewis has had that dropped in his lap so many times. And it horrifies us for so many reasons. I'm going to go through all the things that you should have done before doing that. And I know most of you are wise enough, and most of you are not here. I don't think anyone here is straight up guilty of that. I don't think so. But I do want to talk. One of the things that horrifies us about that is the fact that I think sometimes people open locations without knowing why they should or how they should. That happens. Someone just sort of like got a deal on a space, or they always like this town better. And that's not the science behind this. So what I want to talk about, first of all, is why would you need a new location? And everyone in here, all of you have multiple locations, will recognize some of these things. But we're going to start with growth, not enough space. That is the number one reason why people add locations. You've run out of exam rooms where you are. Okay. Sometimes it's because you've hired new clinicians, or the patient demand is exploding, or now you've got like 4 new behavioral health people and you don't have space for them. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, an opportunity. There's a new zip code near you, like and different parts of the country suddenly have neighborhoods that pop up. All right. And now you've got 400 or 800 or 2,000 homes 5 miles away, or even 15 miles away, and you want to be the pediatrician in that space. Sometimes those opportunities occur. And then sometimes there's a threat. The space you're in makes it difficult based on either the space you're in or where you are. You can't find employees. You can't find clinicians. You have someone who's, the patient base is shrinking. We had a client who... We have a client who is in Florida at what's that giant adult? I'm sorry. Yeah, the Village. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, the Villages, the one where they have all the syphilis problems among the 65-year-olds. Well, all the people who work there have kids, and we have a client who is a pediatrician basically in the Villages. And I don't remember the exact details, but there was a private school at the Villages, or near the Villages. And so she set up shop right near there, and they moved the school. So she had to move her practice. So that sort of thing happens. And then one of the big ones, and something that really I don't think our clients think of enough, is when they have a bad lease or a bad landlord, or the circumstance of the space itself becomes a problem. All right, so these are the reasons why people seek out new space. And these are the things I want you to start thinking about. This is, when I give a talk, this is the nature of the way I think. I usually have 2 or 3 things total in the entire hour that I want you to take away. Now, of course, we saw Family Feud. The things I say are not what people take away. But if I'm going to underscore anything today, if I underscore 3 things, this slide is one of them. But let's begin. As soon as you start picturing in your head, we might want a new location. And it's easy when you already have like 4 or 5, adding a new location, you're like, whatever. It's like kids. Once you have 2 or 3, the 4th doesn't, whatever. I know how to do this. But you still have to follow these rules. And the first thing I want you to talk about is, or ask yourself, where will the patients come from for this practice? How will I feed this practice? And I could do 20 minutes on that. Am I going to cannibalize my own patients? Am I going to have to steal them from another existing practice? Is this just, there's a wild pack of children who don't have a pediatrician in this part of my state, and I just got lucky. It does happen, but that unlikely though, okay? I'm going to underscore this. This is your chance to build a space that suits your vision, all right? It's just like your own personal house. You've been in your house for 20 years. You're just used to it, but boy, you wish you had put the washer dryer somewhere else, or there would have been nice to have a double sink in the bathroom or whatever. This is your chance to actually make the space efficient and effective because you know better and you know how you operate now, all right? And then over here, all right, is about your organization. If your present office isn't organized, the new one won't be better. It will be worse. More square footage, more exam rooms do not solve problems with your schedule. If you have clinicians who don't want to see 22 kids a day, they're not going to see 22 by adding square footage. And here it is right here. If you can't replicate your culture and your workflows, you're not scaling your practice, you're fracturing it. And we absolutely see this all the time with our clients when they add a location and it's not managed well, it's not planned well, they don't know who oversees it, they don't know how it runs, and it actually makes the practice less efficient and less effective. At the same time, our clients who do this right, sometimes a second location can be like a lottery ticket. It fills up instantly, you're paying less money, it's managed well. All right, so that happens a lot. And here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Because usually what's being driven, this is driven by a financial issue. If someone gave you $500,000 today, would you be better off fixing the problems in your existing location, or would you be better off using it instantly to build a second? How much, when you are thinking about the second location, are you trying to escape a problem that you have right now? And you might have to escape a problem, but if you don't have to, and you can fix it where you are, you will be better because most of the time you're just adding more chaos to a chaotic circumstance. I teach a lot of classes about culture, mission, and vision, and if you don't have that stuff locked in and you open a second practice, all you're doing is diluting and diluting your culture. I never thought of that pun. We see it on our end. I'm pointing at Lewis because we absolutely see it at PCC when the practice doesn't know where they're going with this, what they're doing. We don't even know who to call to solve a problem there. All right, so let's keep going. As you know, I like to treat the world like it's a big number, and you have to do the math. And the math is always these numbers right here. It's the number of patients, the number of clinicians, and it's the number of exam rooms. All right? So if someone calls and says, yeah, I'm thinking of opening a new location, we're really busy right now. All right, and I'm like, well, okay, how many clinicians do you have? I'm going to make up some easy numbers I can do in my head. I have 3. How many exam rooms do you have? 12. You don't need a second location. You need to schedule better. I have 4 clinicians, and I have 8 exam rooms. And I'm like, you are probably pretty full. But one of the questions I would want to start talking about is, okay, well, when are you open? Because if you're one of those practices who's only open 9 to 4, and those practices still very much exist, maybe you need to change your hours. A practice that opens a second location that isn't open after 6 o'clock already and isn't open on weekends, you can do it. I mean, people have done it plenty of times, but you're not even maximizing the existing place you're paying rent for. And it is a lot cheaper to add evening hours and weekend hours. This is fun to watch while I'm doing this. What could go wrong, Lewis? sorry to be difficult. No. Like towards that? Or oh, I mean, I can move my chair. Okay, I'll do whatever. Just aim it at the audience. They're more interesting. And one of the things I want you to do, though, I will tell you the back of napkin math I do. It's math that you all understand already instantly. There's no magic in this. But when I start talking to a practice, the first thing I'm looking for is 3 exam rooms per FTE. And there are exceptions to it. Okay, people split or they operate in a certain way. I know I have clients who need 5 per FTE, and I know clients who can do it with 2. All right, just practice style. But I like to start with 3. So if I see 4 clinicians and they really work at least 4 days a week, I want to see 12 exam rooms. And so if you have 4 clinicians right now and you have 9 exam rooms, that's probably tight. And if your new location is only adding 3 exam rooms, then I'm like, is it enough? Maybe it is. Maybe it's just a part-time place. But if your new location has 12 exam rooms, now I'm like, well, okay, are you adding doctors? This all has to be part of the vision and part of the plan. I'm asking what should be the most obvious questions in the world, and it is remarkable to me how often these questions aren't fully understood. And when you add the additional costs, all right, adding a location doesn't lower your overall overhead, even if it fills instantly. If you have 2 locations, location 1 has 12 exam rooms, it's filled naturally. Location 2 has 12 exam rooms, it's filled naturally. Your overhead doesn't go down very much. You still, yes, you save a little space for your billing department maybe. Maybe you don't need all of the same storage. I'm just making stuff up. You don't need conference rooms at both. Maybe. But at the end of the day, you're still paying staff, you're still paying for vaccines, and you're still paying rent. Those are the 3 biggest expenses that you have. So you have to do your math. Well, in my existing space, I have 12 exam rooms, and I generate $1.2 million. At my new, I'm making up easy numbers, at my new space, if I have 6 exam rooms, I will probably generate $600,000. And does my budget in the plan that I've got for my new space, does it work with only $600,000? Am I making sense? Okay. And let's be clear. The startup costs are costs you don't get back. Right now, has anyone done construction since COVID? Okay. It is insane what it costs right now. I just got a quote to my house flooded a year and a half ago. The basement, the sewer backed up into it. It was a great day. All right. And so it worked. I mean, like it didn't work out, but everything's okay. But because I scrambled and we moved everything into the center of the room, and all the drywall's been cut. So you go down in our basement, and it looks like you can't get to anything. Everything's piled to keep it dry. It's been like that for a year and a half, and I got a quote to redo it. And yeah, we're like making some improvements or whatever, but it's $450 a foot. All right. And go get a construction quote. I have a friend. I have a friend in Santa Monica. He had a 68 square foot bathroom, so it's like 6 by 10. To remodel it, $345,000. And one of the reasons is because all those guys are like, take it or leave it. I'm booked out a year and a half, so I'm giving you the price to like get in to the front of the line. I mean, so right now, those fit-up costs, you're not getting back. Usually, let's just say usually, all right? And so you need to have, as part of your business plan, at least $345,000 that in profit to make up for that fit-up space before you get to the regular flow. I'm not trying to talk you out of getting a second space, by the way, but this is all math that you need to do. All right, so please, I said I had like 2 or 3 slides I want you to really pay attention to. This is the second one. Ask yourself these questions. Who is going to manage the new location? Oh my gosh, do people not figure this out until 2 weeks after they've gone live, okay? And let me just suggest that the right answer is not the person who manages the present location, because they can't be in 2 places at the same time. How are you going to pay for the expansion? How will the payer mix differ at the new location? Are you doubling your Medicaid volume or cutting it in half? Or if at this new location is located near a body of employers who all happen to use United Healthcare, and you go from 10 to 30% of United Healthcare, is that going to make you sad? Well, in that example, yes. It's going to make you sad. All right. Should you expand your hours or consider using telehealth instead? That was the point I was making earlier. And to be clear, that question should be asked even after you decide to open a second location. That's an and. Because you might want to expand your hours anyway. You might want to consider telemedicine anyway. How long really is it going to take to complete the fit-up? And how long to get credentialed and staffed? Because that's the other thing. You go from 12 exam rooms to 24 exam rooms, unless you're planning on shutting down one location and moving everyone every other day or whatever your pattern is, which seems really stupid. All right, you are going to need new front desk, new nurses, new MAs, and probably new clinicians. So how are you going to do that? On weekends, are you going to consolidate all of those visits in one of the locations, or are both locations going to be open? Sometimes that works out really well. Sometimes the practices are too far apart to do that. But that's a question to ask. And one thing I really sort of want to put on in people's heads is sit down and ask yourself, what do I want this to look like in 5 years? Are both of these locations going to be running top speed in 5 years? Is that my vision? Or am I thinking that I'm going to actually move the practice from this space to that space in 5 years? All right. It's totally normal to have a practice in an 8 exam room space, add a new 10 exam room space that has the ability to expand 4 years from now. You know, the way the lease is structured and the way that space is, you might move into the newer space, ultimately. Now, of course, 5 years from now, who knows, all right? Pediatricians might all be in jail, as far as we know. Don't worry, we will break you out. PCC will 100% blow up the wall of that jail. 100%. That guy in the mask is not me breaking you out of jail. Yeah, it might be Chris Forley. All right. And then a question that I don't think I mean, does anyone here consider him or herself a real estate expert? All right. So I'm going to encourage you to get a buyer agent because they are free. They work for you. They get paid by whomever you're going to either purchase your property from or lease or rent or whatever, and have them help you figure out whether you should be buying property or leasing the space. And that is obviously, they do entire weekend seminars on just this topic. And the real estate market is a very volatile and evolving thing at all times. So there's no right answer. My father, in fact, is a real estate professional. He's a developer, and this is what he does for a living. He's owned a tremendous number of properties, but he often I've seen him give advice this is the advice that he gave to PCC. We had an opportunity to buy the building we're in, and he was like, do you want to be a software company or do you want to be landlords? And he said, yeah, it makes sense for someone to buy and own this building, but if you buy and own this building, half of your time is going to be spent managing the building. Now, and John was not interested in using a building to pull money out of PCC to pay himself. However, in a professional practice, how many people have partners who own the spaces that you're in? Just one. So, but not all the that's the best. One very viable, I'm going to simplify it massively. One very common thing for professional organizations to do is have the owners of that organization also own the building that they're in, because it gives you protection. It is also a way for let's say your law firm, but your pediatric practice, the rent you pay actually pays you pardon me, over here as well. It also means that you can, the ownership of the practice can change, but you can continue to get revenue from the practice by owning the space you're in. And it's also a way to draw a tremendous amount of cash out of a business. In the building we're in, the guys who own it, they bought the building and they moved their software company into it. They did grocery store stuff. And I don't know if this is true or not, but so I'm not trying to slander them as much as I would like to. But I believe that they charged their own software company a tremendous amount of rent, and that way they could pull all of the money. They could pull all of this money out of a software company that might be co-owned. They might have other investors. So when you have a pediatric practice, only a couple of the partners own the space that you're in. A couple of those partners are getting the money coming and going, all right? And which can sometimes be great, but it also makes partnership in general very tricky. Now suddenly, you've got a very extreme variable. In any event, you need professional guidance to help you navigate that part of the concept. I worked with a practice. I worked with a practice last week, 2 weeks ago, for whom their rent was like 17% of their budget. That's about twice as high as I like to see someone paying for rent, give or take. And they're forever stuck because they can't grow in the space they have. They've filled the space they have. They are stuck until they can get out of this lease, and I just don't want to see that happen to you. All right, let me keep going, though. Once you've determined that you need a new or additional space, whether you've got a bad landlord, whether you want to expand, whether you want to do all this stuff, all right, the most important thing, that old saying about location, that is absolutely true. And here are the elements of a location that we know are important. Parking is the most important part of your new location. And in fact, it's the number of steps from the parking spot to your front door that matter the most to moms. They are carrying a car seat with a kid in it half the time, and they don't want to cross a street. They don't want to have to drive around the block. They don't want to have to pay for it, and they don't want to have to be in a spot that makes them feel the least bit endangered, right? So parking is the most important thing for pediatric practice. Proximity to your existing clinicians, like so everyone doesn't have to drive an hour to get there. Your proximity to public transportation, depending on your patient base, this becomes a huge factor. If you're a high Medicaid practice, being on the bus line cuts your no-shows in half, all right? If you are a 10-minute walk from the bus line, your no-shows are higher. People have measured this. One big question that you ask in 2025 is, do I want a bigger waiting room or do I want no waiting room? And no waiting room. In fact, I've had plenty of clients who, rather than move, just took over half their waiting room, threw a few more exam rooms in it. All right? So, and that's, that makes a lot more sense. Though I do have practices who like big waiting rooms still. I don't know. All right? And then, of course, proximity to other businesses. I have a friend who ran a children's museum out on Long Island, and one of their tenants in their spaces was a pediatric dentist, because the moms would just go like, oh, we got to go to the dentist, and then we'll go to the museum, and that sort of combination worked really well for both of them. And there are combinations, like if you're next to Bounce It Out, you're going to get patients you never had before, like you practice splinting. All right. As I said before, get a commercial real estate broker, and then consult your professionals, consult attorneys. Oh my gosh, the number of PCC clients who've just signed things without reading. All right, I think I have. Hold on. Yeah. All right. This is my last slide, and then we have Kathy Cotter's great stuff. So once you have pulled the trigger, once you've signed that lease, once you've done all that work, okay, here are all the other things you have to consider. You got to start with marketing. What and when are you going to say things on social media? What does your signage look like? I've got to go into the Google and Apple records. I've got to do direct patient messaging. You will have patients, as you know, 2 years after you open your space, say, I didn't know you had a second office. All right? So you cannot over-communicate this. The day you know your new address, you've got to start credentialing. Unless you want to see people for free out there, that's cool with me. But definitely start credentialing. And it should be easy. You're just adding an address. But we have clients or people at this conference who have had struggles with credentialing, even just adding or moving addresses, and it's 6 to 9 months. All right? Now, 6 to 9 months will beat every contractor in the United States right now. So the day you know your address, start your credentialing, and you will be okay. That is the number one thing that happens with us. All new offices, all new locations. Practices somehow open up in 3 months, and they're not credentialed with Blue Cross for 6 or 9. And that will obviously kill you. All right? You need to know the name you need to know the name and have the job description for every single person there. You're taking a huge leap, and as soon as you go from 6 to 12 exam rooms, you need twice as many nurses, twice as many MAs, twice as many at front desk. The only thing you don't need probably is twice as many billers. All right, but if you really are, because this is the way it happened. Maybe your practices, maybe you got a line. You're hiring 3 residents, and everything's going to be great. You might need to add a new biller somewhere, and it is absolutely possible that expanding to that second location means you need to have more space for your billing department back in the main office. Okay, have all of that stuff planned. With your build out, it's all about the schedule. And whether or not, how much of the practice is going to be wired versus wireless. How big is your waiting room? I'm going to talk about some of the details as it relates to PCC there in a minute when I get to Kathy's slides. But this is your chance before the build out to figure out what is my optimum workflow, where am I going to put wireless outlets, where am I going to put wired outlets or wireless points. How do I want to set this up in a way that makes it easier for everyone to do their work. And then last but not least, I said there were 3 slides, or 3 points I was going to make. This is the third one. You need to tell all of us about this. You need to tell us the day that you've said, we haven't signed the papers yet, we're going to do it tomorrow, but we have a new space, and we intend to go in here on this day. You need to tell us this. And you also need to tell all your other friends. Internet, phones. You might be doing a data conversion because it's not uncommon. I mean, we run into them because one of our practices picks up a new, they buy an old office, or an existing practice. Well, we probably have a data conversion coming. And data conversions aren't easy. And people who expect to buy an old pediatric practice and start billing their claims out of it in 3 weeks, you're insane, all right? The best you can do in 3 weeks is cash only, all right? Because you're not getting that data, you're not credentialed, and you don't even know who works there. If you have a billing service or any of the other partners, and I'm about to go into much more detail with this on Kathy's slides in a second, just tell everybody. Just tell everyone so we can be prepared. Now, I'm about to go into Kathy's slides. They're really good. They're really detailed. And if you are thinking about doing anything with the location, just take this slide deck and go through her stuff. Okay, that's what I'm going to tell you. Because now it's going to be very PCC specific. I did my stuff preparing to talk to just a general audience. Now we're talking to friends. Like I could have given this talk at the Florida chapter meeting, all right? This next part, I can't give at the Florida chapter meeting because it's coming from the people you actually already pay, all right? And you're going to, I think Kathy's daughter did the slides too. Like they're so much better than mine. All right, so she went deep in the Lego theme, all right? So you will see. So here's what she's going to say. All of our client-facing teams, okay, have missions. The moment someone calls us and says, I'm opening a new location in 3 months, we have an entire process, an entire set of things that we know to do. And I'm telling you what they are because I want these to be your expectation, and I need you to start doing your homework. So ensure success. I'm not going to read all her stuff because she's got all sorts of Lego stuff in there and like things like that. It's all on there. All right. But the broader project is going to be managed by Ensure Success, and in fact, managed by Kathy herself. All right. Ensure Success is with your CA. It's with the tech guys. Like that's the key part where it's project managed. The Get Paid team is going to zero in on your claims. And with your claims, remember, we have to get your new location properly identified in the claim process. All right? You now have a new location. In the good old days, when everything was printed on a HCFA form, there was a section on the HCFA form that talks about the place of service. And that place of service detail, we have to get right. We cannot have it be wrong. So Get Paid is going to focus a lot on that. And the CDX team, they have all this new stuff relating to e-prescribing, the vaccine inventory, not just vaccine inventory, the vaccine reporting. They all pay attention to the place of service, all the labs you ordered, any lead screening, any clinical data stuff. They want to know. They don't care that it's just Memphis Children's Clinic. They want to know what location it happened at. So we have a lot of configuration we have to do. So she goes into this deep. But this is what we need you to do. Look at this. Look at what she did. This is crazy, all right? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to call PCC, and our PCC sales rep will start the process. And the reason is this. When you add a location, it's not entirely free from PCC. All right? And more importantly, we want to incorporate your new location into your sales agreement. We want it to be part of what we cover. We send you a lot of expensive hardware, like a lot. We don't charge you for it directly. We don't pass the price through to you. All right? We just build it into our fee very lightly, and that's why the sales team gets involved. So we want you to begin with a formal, yes, we're doing this, here's the location, and you begin right here. We will do a blueprint meeting. She did this in kind of a fun way. But you'll meet with PCC to lay out the vision. We're going to assign tasks across our teams. We will do a bunch of behind-the-scenes setup, coordinating the hardware, networking, software, and operations. We will keep you in the loop, and you will have a designated contact for managing this project. All right? This is what we do for you. Now, here are the details. This is I talk about the credentialing, but this is the part that has to be done right. You can fake a lot of this other stuff, but you cannot fake this part. So this is what makes Lewis cry sometimes at night. All right, we want to know that everything she says right here, like she really got it. The first thing we're going to want to know is, does she have it in the right order? See right here where it says floor plans and mapping? I don't know how his team starts. I don't know if he gave her this order. But the first thing I want to see when you say, send us, like we're opening a second location, we say, send us your blueprint. What does it look like? How big is it? Because right away we're like, how many access points do we need? What does this look like? And then we're going to ask questions like, who's the internet provider out there? Not can you, how do you get a static IP address for that location? What kind of throughput do you have? Because people call us and they're like, oh yeah, I got a new location and but we probably can't get the internet for 6 months. Or the only internet we can get is like residential. And now residential is really fast, but like, and we're like, you've got a problem. You're not streaming Netflix, okay? You need to have there's certain things we need to have into place. And if this stuff doesn't work, well, actually, I know who's in here. Everyone in here with multiple locations has had a sad day because of multiple. All right, we try to do our homework, and the earlier we do it before anything gets dropped in, the better this is. So the IT guys do all of this stuff here. Oh, and the last one, my favorite, remote printers. Okay, it is actually kind of voodoo that you can hit a button in one city and make a printer do something in another city. All right? Even more, because we are paranoid, we do it all securely. If you want to ignore like security, we can do this stuff easily, a lot more easily. But we are very paranoid. We don't like breaches. So in Kathy's deck, this might be the most important slide. We start with the beginning, we take a look at the map, and we sit down and we make sure we understand, like, what are you expecting to do here? And we're other questions we're going to ask is, okay, cool. You can get fiber at your office? Awesome. Where's the drop? Oh, you're on the 3rd floor of this building? Like, and all of your stuff comes here? Well, what kind of wiring goes up from the basement to your office? Like, how does this work? And they're going to ask questions like, well, does it have any existing equipment? Oh, it's brand new and you're going to do all your fit up? Well, what are you putting in your office for PCs? Oh, you're all getting Chromebooks? Who told you to do that? I mean, we could do it, but it's like we want you to, the more we know about what's coming, the easier it is to avoid making a mistake. So that's actually the entire lesson. Yeah.
The one thing I'll interject, you may have noticed a bunch of PCC people are very creative, like maybe you noticed Owen this morning, for example. So there are people at PCC who have backgrounds in all kinds of areas. So like, I am kind of a nerd about floor plans because I went to college to do drafting. It's kind of cool. And there are other people who look at things and are like, oh, why are you putting your restrooms there? Like, architects are great. They've got these grand visions for things they think they'd like to do, their legacy, but they work for you, so you need to tell them what you want. Otherwise, you'll have this great thing in your building that is functionally useless but costs you a lot of money. So that's my little interjection there.
And just as, if not more common, your architect forgets to leave a space for your IT closet. That's something. It doesn't happen so much anymore, but seriously, in the good old days when I would go do installs and stuff, having the server literally under the feet of the front desk was very common. They would turn it off with their feet. Yes. Yes. Working with an architect. I'm just repeating for the audience. That's yeah, not to be pedantic, but the looking for an architect who has an understanding of how medical space works. Yeah, it really. You know, I mean, you all know this. The flow of your office, the physical flow of your office is a real thing. And when you go visit a practice who does it right, you're like, oh, this is sweet. And they can do it in less space and be happier. In any event, all right. So this slide is very important. Secondly, we have a patient engagement squad at PCC. You know about this. And this is good for two reasons. Number one, this becomes part of what you're doing to tell your patients about your new location. You can send out notifications and you can use broadcast messaging to remind people. But one of this team in our kickoff gets the message there's going to be a new location, and they have to do all of their configuration to set up the new location. All right. So then this is a giant one. Okay. The people from Get Paid need to set up your claims properly. All right. Then we have ERX, and it turns out that having a second location from which you prescribe is a big deal. And it would be very sad if you get to your new space and you're not allowed to write scripts out of there because your ECPS, your controlled substances stuff, doesn't work at the new location. Another thing that we need to know. That's another reason why we need to know in advance. All right? All of this stuff relating to interoperability. Any exchanges you have with the hospital, any exchanges you have with your HIE, the HIEs in particular. Whenever you're running reports with your HIE, to get value-based care payments or whatever, value-based payments, anything like that, they often have us break down the data by location. So we just added for every location you add, we just added a new column to all of the reports so they can segregate your performance by location. So you've also got the vaccine link and labs, okay? I think that this might be the last slide. This went faster than I thought. So again, to review, all right, our team will with you clarify the scope and the workflows of your existing space, and we will make clear to you what your homework is with us, and we will make clear to you what we will do for you. We will create a schedule. We'll set the dates. We'll provide all the information. We will make sure your claims work. That's so important. We'll make sure your network works. We will set up all of your reporting. Oh, I even forgot to mention this. Obviously, we need to get the scheduler to know where you are. If you are in a practice that has care centers, like some practices just have 2 locations, and we're like, yeah, we like to break down our reports by location, but that's different from our practices who have, like BCD Health, and they have this location is actually its own care center. These doctors are responsible for the overhead of that location, and this location is responsible for this overhead. When we have to put care center information stuff. We have to get the appointment book right. We have to teach you how to use flags to mark the patients for the right spots. All of this stuff, the vaccine tracking, training your stuff, and doing the labs. We will set a schedule and put this all in place for you, but you have to tell us about it. All right? Is this not like... I guess that is my last slide. I was looking for the slide that says, review us in the app. Sorry, usually this thing. Now, does anyone have any questions? So what is the first thing you're going to do when you decide that you're going to add a new location? Call PCC. Tell everyone. All right. The moment it's not a secret, call PCC and tell us. It triggers that whole landslide of Kathy's slides, and it will spare you and us a tremendous amount of grief. Now, before you decide to get your new space, what are you going to do? Okay, these are both good answers. Maximize your current space. Have a budget. have a business plan for your new space. And I outlined the primary elements of what need to be in that business plan. It is uncommon for me to receive a question from a client saying, hey, I'm about to open the new space. Here's my budget. They usually say something like, I really want to open a new space. We don't have any room. I found a building, and I want to move into it. And I'm always like, that sounds great, but where are you going to get those patients? We'll figure it out. How many of those, can you expand your existing location? No. Can you expand your new location? Don't, all of those things, they're not answered. It's just the desperation to add 3 or 6 or 12 more exam rooms. It drives people to make decisions a little too quickly. So, Dr. Brody, please.
So, obviously, maximizing your current space is the best if you don't have the capacity.
Yep.
More patients. However, what if you are considering getting a new space because of location? For example, in our location, a lot of our patients are moving to a different location for residency because it's cheaper, and so now there's a huge immigrant center 30 miles away from where we are, which is just too far of a commute. So we're just having patients leave our practice simply because it's too far.
Yes, so yep, that was on my first slide before you came in. All right, so the question was, I'm saying this for the people at home. The question is, what if the demographics of your area have changed such that the place where you've planted your roots might be 20, 30 miles away from where you want to be? And that is to me, an increasingly common situation. And I think there's a great deal of validity to it. And now, Paul just came in the room, all right? Paul has a service he provides where he can do an analysis, a zip code related analysis about where people in your area are moving to and from. And it is one of those things. There's still a little, not voodoo, it's still a little like looking glass-ish, like, because you don't really know. But when you're like, wow, okay, so all of the babies within 40 miles of us are now over here, all right? That becomes that's a real thing to consider. Now, what I can't tell you is this. What I can't tell you is, should you put a place in 30 miles away, or should you put in a place that's 15 miles away? And even though we could have a debate on the logic about, like, you can keep the majority of your patients, like maybe ultimately move to this new central location, or do you just open a place there and start thinking about, there's logic to both of those things. But what has to be at the heart of it is, how expensive is it and how easy is it to find space at each of those locations? If it turns out that to drop a place in 30 miles away costs 3 times more than it does to drop in a place 15 miles away, 15 miles away becomes much more interesting and attractive. All right, does that make sense? So, yes, Karen, and I'll get you.
About what that's going to do, because I was thinking about the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of patients are moving to Blue Wing, which is not that far. We have a lot of people come from there, but it's if I do that, what's it going to do to my
Existing. Yes, that's why that's why I'm saying, like, how far do you want to move from your existing location? A couple things. Number one, I think as adults, or as humans, and as physicians, we probably don't accurately estimate where your patients are really coming from. And we can easily generate all kinds of reports for you talking about the zip codes of where your families come from. What happens is, when you're in that exam room and you heard that you lost a family because it's too far now, and that's all you think about, and you don't really know, unless you have measured, that you actually still have 99 families for that one family you lost. And so I'm really advocating strongly for measuring. I'm going to complicate this, though. If you are in one of those places where suddenly there are a bunch of families moving, and we're making this equation very simple. Okay, I'm here, they're there. Do I move here? Do I move there? And I'm saying, like, this is in large part going to be driven by the real estate options there. There's another variable, and that is what other pediatricians are in those spaces, and sometimes being the first one in town or certainly the newest one in town. Like if you know that you have competition, some of our clients live in places that are heavily competitive, and some of our clients live in places where they're the only show. All right, so and that makes a big difference. You putting your footprint into place before other people get there, that can have some value. I can't tell you that it always does, and I'm not going to tell you to think that way all the time, but it is a very legitimate variable, and it's tricky. So I think there and then here, please.
So we're considering opening a second location.
30 miles away. Yep. Yeah, this is an incredibly tricky thing to do. And so, I'd say a couple things. Number one, start by backing out and saying, what do we want this location to look like in 5 years and 10 years? Is it possible that what we're building is we're sending the mothership to Mars, and that's where we're going to grow, and this one's going to shrink? Possible. Yes? I'm sorry. So the question was, there's a series of questions. How much do you need to consider that when the distance of the second location and the effect that it has on your culture? Because what does that mean for you long term to have a space in a new location, which just by virtue of being in a different town and in a different physical space, you can literally have two offices 2 miles apart, and one's new and one's old, and they will have a totally different look and feel. And if the culture you have is the culture you want to maintain, how do you do that? And that's why I'm going to go right back to this slide. I told you right here, okay, right here, okay. If you can't replicate your culture and workflow, you're not scaling, you're fracturing. So how do you do it? Well, first of all, okay, if I were a really great speaker, I would make it sound like I have a recipe for this. But there is really only one word. The only way you do this is by doing it deliberately. So you just have to be super, super conscious. We are building 30 miles away, and we want to maintain the core elements of our culture. Even though it might feel a little bit different out there, the people are different, the space, the vision are different. Still, if what's important to you are that we're kind, we're compassionate, whatever your values are, right? Maintain those, but you have to know who is in charge of that office. So, Dr. Virati, I'll use you as an example. The problem that you're going to have if you drop in a location 30 miles away is that there is only one of you, all right? Because you are the culture of your practice. So how are you going to go? Are you prepared to drive back and forth? And let me ask you, is this new location where people are moving to, is that 30 miles away from your house? Or are you kind of in between?
So it's 30 miles away.
Yes, 30 miles away,
From
yeah.
my current office and about 20 miles away from my house.
So about 20 miles away from your house. It's doable for most people. I'm just going to say for some people, that's the end of the world. All right? For other people, that's like shorter than they travel now. But that's why it's in my slide over here somewhere, like the distance from the clinicians. You have to decide, how am I going to make sure that what we do, the stuff we drive, and that's why, okay, let's say you decide to pull the trigger, that you have to do it. Like, you've run the numbers, and your patient volume's doing this, and you can project out 5 years, I'm only going to have half the volume I need to keep this place open. I have to do something. Fine. So the moment you start looking, you're still looking for the place. You're trying to figure it out. That's where all of the other elements of organizing your practice and understanding your mission and vision and values, you have to lock that stuff up and have it bulletproof so that when you go open this new office, the first thing that you put up on the wall is your mission. And that every single person you hire has gone through. In fact, what I would do is I'm going to say, I'm going to go to my existing crew because you love them and they understand how you work, whatever. I'm going to go to my crew and say, how many of you want to work at the new office? Because half of you live closer there. and you're going to go work at the new office, and I'm going to hire some new people here, and you're probably going to have a mix, and you're going to spread those people out because they're going to spread that mission for you. But if you have a practice, and I'm just using Dr. Varadi as an example, if you have a practice where you have the visionary who opened the practice, and you want to scale this, that's not easy to do as one person. It's not impossible to do at all. But then what you have to start thinking about, and that's what all of this stuff affects. Do you get a partner? And I know that's a big question. All right, that's a big question. Just as an aside, I mean, this is how my brain thinks. Part of me is like, maybe I open a new location 30 miles away, and maybe I don't get a new partner for Pelican Peds, which is where you are right now, but I open up something called Pelican 2, and I have a partner just in that business. All right? And so I still own and control my stuff, but I'm a partner somewhere else, and I can share my risk with someone else. All right? So if you have people who work for you who want partnership, and you're like, no, I built this, and everyone in this room has like some of that in them, all right? This is what I do, and you're not ready to do that yet, but you can have another. Now, what I just described is 2 different MPIs. You have to call us on day 0 when you decide to do that, because that becomes really tricky. But you can think about some of that stuff that way, all right? There is, and I wish, I would be doing you a disservice to stand up here and say confidently, oh, what you should do is this, because there are way too many like local on the ground things that no one sitting in my shoes could possibly know and understand. So you've just got to have these variables in place. And so I think I left you off. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So how do we predict the payer mix of the people in town? That's actually the service. I think Paul's service will help you with that. So I would ask Paul. He will tell you, like, you're investigating a zip code 3 towns over. He has a service that will help you understand what that looks like. And what I would do if that service didn't exist, this is what I would do. I would call the Chamber of Commerce or the business club of that town. All right. I would find out they always have those little places, and I'd say, who are your top 10 biggest employers, and who are their insurance companies? That's what it would just give me a guess. And if we find out, well, oh, there's an elementary school there, and the teachers union all uses X, and then there's like a McDonnell Douglas plant or whatever McDonald's or whatever. You find out who those big ones are, and that will give you an idea. The other thing you can also do, you can flip it, and you can actually call the payers, your biggest payers, call you. And I tell you this, it's not in the slide deck. If I'm opening a new location, I run the PCC report that tells you who your best payers are. I call those payers that day and say, I'm about to open, 30 miles away. You need to get my name in front of all your patients in that town. But you know why? They want to own that town. They want to push out United Healthcare. All right, so you can get their help marketing and helping you identify the patients you don't have in that town. All right, we are officially at 10:15, right? This is only 1 hour. No, it does not. What? I thought this was a 1 hour class. Oh my God, I just totally blew through that because I was like, we're never going to finish. What's that? I would have
Let's talk about editing practitioners.
I'll get your questions, but no, I can, come on, I can go another hour. Paul, I'll get you just a sec. One time I was giving a talk in Chicago, and on the agenda, it was like 1 to 2. And I hammered through my talk because it was going to be late. And so I was like, all right, thank you. And everyone just looking at me funny. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, you're on till 4. So I was like, all right. So I did. I literally started my slide deck over, which I got away with that. And I was like, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on these slides. I thought I had until 11:15, and that you had one more class before lunch. Maybe I should do just a free class. You guys can give me a topic. But, okay, so I'm going to, Karen, ask yours, then I'll get to Paul. What's your question, Karen? Hiring a practitioner. I'm going to come back to that because that we could do an hour on that. I will come back to that. So, Paul, what's your comment? Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, that's what you just said. One of the things that I was pointing everyone at in a different way, which is if you expand, you spend that money, you make that investment, and it's not even just the money investment; it's the time investment, and you go from 5,000 visits a year to 5,500 visits a year. All right, you will never. You've just dug a hole that's too deep. You have to do the math, and the math is always clinicians, exam rooms. I mean, where did I put that slide? I think it's. Oh yes, his question, his comment was, one of the worst things to do is make that entire investment, the time, money, and everything like that, and you don't actually increase or fix your volume. So it's always patients, clinicians, and exam rooms, and then on the back end of that, it's the revenue per visit. You have to know when you open that space 30 miles away. When you add 8 exam rooms, you have to say, how am I going to feed those exam rooms? How am I going to fill those exam rooms? And am I cannibalizing myself? If you're opening up 30 miles away, you may not. If you're opening up 10 miles away, you definitely will. All right? If it turns out like all your patients love to see you, so you can't do a well visit until November, and you open up that second location, so all your like a bunch of your patients go out there, you just emptied exam rooms on this side. So you really have to understand where those patients are. Now, in every circumstance I've ever worked with, it is perfectly natural and understandable that the second location may not be as profitable in year 1, year 2. You're growing. That just has to be part of your plan. I've done the math. I looked at about 30 or 40 of PCC startups. Startups are a little bit different from a second office, but they're similar. And it usually takes a year and a half on average for those startups to reach full-time capacity. Not their max capacity, not what they end up growing to ultimately, but it takes about a year and a half to get to the point where you can say, all right, the practice is running. So that needs to be part of your budget. So you've got all those fit-up costs, all those staffing costs, all that rent, and you will probably be in the red for a year, year and a half. Yes. And then I will get you, Karen. Don't worry. Yeah. Oh, do we have a mic? Yeah, okay.
Thank you. So about 2 weeks ago, we got news that there is a new children's hospital for the state of North Carolina being opened up.
Okay.
So it's going to be a venture between Duke and UNC. It's going to be about 20 to 30 miles south of us. And, if you have, so many of these university systems are consolidating. So how do you factor that into like an expansion plan? Is it advantageous to move towards that area, or is it disadvantageous?
Oh, that's a great question. So, first of all, again, any consultant standing up here giving you a definitive answer is kind of fibbing, because it's still there's too many unknowns. I love the fact that you guys went and told Erin that I screwed up the timing. 'Cause here she is. She's coming and tell. No, I just learned 5 minutes ago that this is a 2-hour course and not a 1-hour course. Oh, I'm not going to. I'm answering questions, and then we're good to go. Yeah, fear not. But that was like, it's such a classic. I'm like, and the look on their faces, I'm like, no, it's happened again. All right, so back to your question. That's an interesting one. Now, let me ponder this one out loud for a second. This will warm me up for this afternoon. So there's a new children's hospital being built. How far from you right now? 20 to 30 miles. New children's hospital being built. What does that mean for you? All right, I'm trying not to be cynical. I'm being skeptical. You know, the only thing worse than a hospital is a nonprofit hospital, and the only thing worse than a nonprofit hospital is a children's hospital. Because anything they do is good for the children, and including, we're just going to squish all of the independent practices in the area. I am not aware of, actually, I can think of at least one community-friendly children's hospital, but there are, overwhelmingly, they're not. They'll just squish you. So it's not like the children's hospital. The children's hospital is going to attract kids from all over the state, but it's not like the family's then going to move there. All right? They're going to be there for 2 weeks, something really sad, but then they probably go home. So I don't think getting closer is going to help you very much. What I do think is that you want to be far enough outside their reach that they don't drop a practice on you. They don't open a clinic near you. What you do need to do is start talking to them immediately. You and all your friends. What's your plan with the community doctors? What's your plan with the community doctors? What's your plan with the community doctors? Do you plan on creating community doctors? And keep in mind, anything they tell you, I don't know if I want to call it a lie, but it doesn't mean it's true. Oh, we have no intent of trying to buy community practices, and they could do it 3 weeks later. They might, it is possible. One of the things they might do is pull in a bunch of clinicians to your area. All right, is it going to be a teaching hospital? So chances are there's going to be some of that. Even if they're not trying to, people are going to be like, oh, that's closer to my house, or that's where I want. But it does mean you might have 10 times as many pediatricians near you. And I know your personal aspirations are not to become a 45-doctor practice, all right? But it does mean you might have an opportunity to pick up one or two. This is my segue to your question, Karen, in a second. So I would treat it as both a threat and an opportunity. They have no interest in your viability. I would want to stay just enough far out of their reach that they're not interested in you, at least for a couple of years. But I would work really hard to be in communication with them all the time. Sorry, Louis? Yeah. 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 Yeah, the non-compete from those hospitals, 20, 30 miles, might get you out. I don't know if North Carolina allows non-competes. So, some states don't, and they are increasingly hard to maintain. But I can't give you a good answer. But I would try to stay out of their reach, but try to talk to them all the time. All right, so then, hiring a clinician. How to do it. I mean, obviously, if I could sit up here and say, this is how you find a pediatrician or a good nurse practitioner to work for you, I guarantee it, this room would be full. All right? What I will tell you is this. All the advice that I give people, the technical advice, the stuff that, making sure you have a good clinician contract, all the compensation modeling stuff I do, that's all academic. Here's the biggest lesson I have for you. I can try to impart on you as it relates to that. You are in a circumstance where you are in a shrinking market. There are fewer and fewer independent pediatric clinicians available to you. However, that's bad news. However, overwhelmingly, the clinicians who do practice, the pediatric clinicians, MPs and doctors, since more and more of them are working for health systems, you saw Sandy Chung's slide deck the other day, that sucks. They're not happy. You're all in independent practice because you don't want to work for those guys. All right? That's like no one loves working for the hospital. All right? They just find a stability in it, or it's a paycheck, or it's easy and their workloads aren't very much. You do not have to hire like you're a children's hospital, though. You don't need 40 or 80 people. You just need one good one. So let's say in your area there's a residency program, or they're floating around at any given time. There are a half dozen or a dozen pediatricians. You only want the good one. You don't want all of them. They need every body they can get. And so the most important thing you can do is have the most clearly and strongly articulated mission, vision, and values. So that you are saying in neon lights, hey, if you want to come work at a practice that looks and feels like this, okay? So Karen, I know your practice. You like to work in an underserved community. That is your mission and vision. There are people who graduate every year who want to do the same thing and who feel like the only way they can do that is to go work in some outpatient clinic for children's of whatever. All you need to do is say, hey, you don't have to do it that way. All right. Another thing that you have that almost every practice here has is you have a flexibility in terms of when those clinicians work that the hospitals do not or cannot provide. I talk about this repeatedly, but when you go to hire new clinicians, they value their schedule more than their money. So everyone asks on SOPM, no, I can show you the proof, but everyone asks on SOPM, what is the starting salary for a resident? Do you know what no one has ever asked on SOPM? What is the expectation of every new resident for the number of patients they're going to see? No one asks that question. I mean, because we all know it's like a third of what you want, all right? But everyone hinges the entire hiring concept on a dollar figure, when the dollar figure is only a part of the equation. To get to that dollar figure, it's a certain number of patients per day and revenue per patient. So what the question really needs to be is not how much can you pay me, or if you get that question, I want $235,000. You say, are you willing to work 65 hours a week? Because then I'll pay you $235,000. The real question is, how many hours do you expect to work a week, and how many patients do you expect to see an hour? I give talks at residency programs, and I ask them every time, how many patients do you see, in your rotation? They're like 8 a day, and you're like, guess what? That's called Monday, 10 a.m. That's what you've just already seen. You're 8, all right? And they're like, what? And all you need to say, or what you need to say is when they say, well, I need to figure this out, say, I want to pay you as much money as I can. The hospital doesn't want to pay you as much money as they can. They want to pay you the least amount possible to make sure there's a body in this slot. If you tell me that you're a new mom and you can only work these hours, or you're a mom with elementary school kids and you need to be home by 2 o'clock every day, you say, all right, let's figure it out. You can cover 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day. Let's do some math. Let's figure it out. Done and done. I am giving you a place to work. It suits you, and you just do the math to make sure you're not losing money. You do the math so you make a little bit of money. And that schedule flexibility is how you get all the people who are miserable at the hospital. Not only is that like your superpower, it's the only way to do it. You have to show them that you are offering flexibility and, frankly, some autonomy and independence that they don't get at the hospital. Everyone employed by the hospital is a number. Yes, ma'am. Please, don't apologize. Wait, here comes a microphone. Are you about to tell me I'm wrong?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just thanks. I just wanted to second that because we live in the Dallas area, and when the measles outbreak happened, we also have so much more clinical flexibility and autonomy, and I feel like that's why
totally.
we have gained that. So I have a lot of parents who are physicians at children's specialists and things like that. And they came in, they're like, can we get the measles vaccine early? And we're like, yeah, I would love for you to get the measles vaccine early. And they're like, oh, at children's they will not allow them to get the measles vaccine early because we are not part of the outbreak. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, yes, please get it early.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if we were practicing at Children's, we couldn't give them the vaccine. There's no reason not to give it. And I was like, I'm so glad we are private and we can make our own clinical decisions too.
That, on like 8 levels, underscores the difference between what you do and because it's like clinically, that's insane. All right, that's absolutely insane. And not only is it about their lack of clinical flexibility and understanding, and they're having to go through 40 layers of decisions and approvals before they do that, whereas you can roll out of bed and say, oh, we're doing MMR tomorrow for the 6-month-olds, or whatever, 9 months, or whatever it was, all right? But it also shows you what it's, some of those doctors wanted to give that vaccine, all right? And talk about moral injury. Like, it's bad enough that the administration is yelling at you, but then the guys who are on your team tie a hand behind your back? That's so dumb. And then what you should be saying, though, to every one of those people who came from there, you're like, this is what it's like with the cool kids. You can come to our practice. We don't treat you, yeah, and you only need one for right now, usually, unless you open a new location with 12 exam rooms and you need like 3 or 4. But you have a place to work that is so much more rewarding than working at any of those places. All those places are like literally have time stamps and time cards. And when you talk to the independent people with any sort of independent spirit, that's not what they want to do. So that's my answer to you, Karen. And it really boils down to you need to have a mission statement. Katrina would tell you it needs to be a micro mission, 5 to 7 words that tells the world who you are and what you do and why you work here. And that should be on the wall behind your front desk. And it doesn't guarantee you're going to get someone, but it does more to get you someone than anything else. That's been my experience. Yeah. How long is your mission statement right now? Like a couple sentences? Oh no, we could kung fu that down to 5 words, and it when you do it right, I've done the consulting where I sit in a room and like 6, 8, 10 people, and we talk about it, and the process is important, and everyone's and all of a sudden someone says something out loud, and you will literally see a reaction of the people in the room, and they're like, oh. And Katrina has like a little list for making a micro mission. One of them says it has an awe moment, and as soon as everyone goes like, oh, that's it, and then everyone's in line. It's like literal and figurative. Everyone is on the same page, and it goes a long way. If your mission, I'm not saying those long. Well, that is music to my ears. Can anyone on your staff repeat it? How many sentences is it? Yeah. Oh, see, the fact that you can't recite it to me immediately, it's too long. Okay. I'll give you an example of why a micro mission is really important. Does anyone know what the slogan for Ford Motors is? Or at least was for a little while. Okay. And does anyone know what the slogan is for BMW? So Ford Motors, I want you to listen to the magic of you're close. You're close. Each of these little slogans, these little micro missions, are 3 words. And I want you to listen. I'm going to tell you built to last versus the ultimate driving experience. And you're at the car mall. I'm going to buy a car, and one lane says built to last, and one lane says the ultimate driving experience, and that immediately tells you what line am I in? What am I shopping for? What am I trying to do? And I was like, those are pure genius. Okay? So even though most of the guys who drive those giant Ford trucks never actually tow anything or drive off-road, besides that, what they have in their minds is, I've got the truck that's built to last. And the guy in the Beamer's like, I don't even need a blinker because I never use it because I'm in the ultimate driving experience, okay? And it creates a personality for who you are. And that's why 3 to 5 words. Yep. Talk to Katrina. She's like a wizard at it. Yeah.
Read it.
Sure. Our mission is to provide families with the best medical care and support in a welcoming way. We believe that caring for your child, whether sick or well, is an honor, and we are grateful for the opportunity to be part of your family's lives.
Okay, so first of all, your mission, it's going to sound like I'm picking on you, but I'm not.
No, it's
Okay.
okay.
No, I know you can
Pick,
handle if I
pick.
do. No. But your mission, here are the problems with your mission. Every sentiment you just expressed, everyone agrees with it.
Right,
There's nothing wrong with it.
yeah.
It's like nice. It doesn't distinguish you. Read the first couple, literally the first until you hit the first comma. I want you to listen to this, how important this is.
Our mission is to provide families the best medical care.
Stop. Is there anyone in here whose mission isn't to provide the best medical care? We want the third best medical care.
I can tell you where to go for that.
Yeah, okay, yes. All right, yeah, exactly. So, I want you to hold that feeling there. Hold that for a second. All right, hold that for a second. There's something in here. But what I want you to do, though, is what you said is totally, I like it. I want to go to, but what you said does not explain who you are and how you are different from the place with the third. I guarantee you the third best place says that same thing. So let me tell you, I mentioned this in my class the other day, but when I give a talk on this stuff, I use this example all the time because for me it's very telling. The first thing I tell people is when we do values and everyone brainstorms and does the word cloud, everyone says we practice the best medicine, evidence-based or whatever. I'm like, cross that out. The only time you leave in the highest, the best medicine or evidence-based is if you happen to live in a town where no one does that, okay? Secondly, now let me give you an example. This is the Nola Ernest example. We're doing this at Women in Peds because this is just an example. I'm not asking you to add this to your values, okay, or your mission. It was like the equivalent of like Built to Last. We were talking about, Nola is the AP chapter president for Alabama and had just come from the big legislative anti-trans fight down there, all right, where she, I think, single-handedly shot it down. That round, I'm sure they came back with something dumber. And we were talking about values, and she said the word inclusive. And I was like, that is the perfect value. It has nothing to do with how I feel about it. All right, I'm a big fan of that, but that's not what I like about it. What I like about it is as soon as she says the word inclusive, she tells the entire world what she stands for in one word. 10% of the families, or whatever you think the magic number is, immediately say, this is the only practice in town I can go to. Another probably 10 or 20% of the families in town who are assholes, they say, this is not a practice for me to go to, and you don't want them. And you're also saying to your staff, hey, if you're not comfortable with the kids I'm taking care of and doing stuff, don't come work for me. And what I think is inside your practice is a word like inclusive.
Diversity.
All right, so
The other buzzword.
Yeah,
This is
so
sorry.
diversity, diverse.
And we definitely are diverse.
Yes, you are. So okay, I'm doing a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't be doing, which is like I'm jumping way ahead and trying to land one. And how much Medicaid are you?
87%.
87%. So the thing that this is me projecting onto you, Karen. So I don't accept this. This is not valid.
It's okay.
What you want to say or what you want to do is strike the balance between two things. Saying, we take care of every Medicaid kid without saying, but we're a Medicaid practice.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you say we're a Medicaid practice, that gives a feeling to everyone else, this is not the same level of care.
We wanted to do it with dignity instead of just being a number.
Right.
That's for sure.
And so these are
Did I
what
ruin your
what
thought?
comes to me, and I seriously don't use these. These are me thinking about how I would do this, and it has to be with you, and it has to be with your crew. But something along the lines. And when I do this, I picture a sign behind your front desk that says, "We take care of everybody. We say yes to everyone. We turn no one away." And think of how much more powerful "we turn no one away" is than "we practice the highest quality medicine." Now, I don't think we don't turn anyone away. I don't think that's it. It's not it. It is part of it. It's under there. All right? What you want to be able to say without saying is, "We don't do this for the money." And that's what the Children's Hospital does, no matter what they say. So what else would I say? I mean, I would back up a little bit and... Do you have your values? Have you done your values at all?
I don't think so.
So that's, okay, so this is the real exercise, and we don't have time to do it. Because I also need because you have a few people who work for you who are like, who've been there a bit, right, still?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. I always have to say still, like make sure it's gone.
some.
Yeah. But, and the danger, one of your dangers, even in your example, you can't do it yourself. There's no self. You're trying to edit yourself, and everyone is bad at it. But what I want you to do is back out. Actually, Brian Birch's talk yesterday. Did anyone go to it?
Well, I have our role in the medical home. Is that our
Nope.
Okay.
No. So
not values?
it's important. No, again, it's important. But if you go to Brian Birch's talk from yesterday, he has like 10 handouts, okay, and it walks you through how to do your values work. Start with your values, and you will get to 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't like more than 7, maybe 8, but 6, 7 is 5, 6, 7 is kind of a sweet spot. You'll get 5 values, which are really important. Evidence-based, but better not be on there. Okay. You're going to have these 5 values, and they will then actually drive you to that mission statement. And the values really need to be done with your team, because that's how you get buy-in and understanding. And this is a key part of it. It has to be done with your team, because even if in this room we all nail it, this has happened every time I've done one of these things, in any given room, different people have a different understanding of the same word. So even if we're like all kumbaya, we're all on the same page. I'll give you a PCC example in a second. We're all on the same word doing this.
Yeah.
When you get back, if you're people who weren't involved in the process and they have a different interpretation, not the wrong one, just a different one. So does anyone remember any of the PCC values? I mean, I've only been repeating them for a couple of days. Yes. Pragmatic irreverence. And that one, okay, I'm glad to, thank you for saying that. That's your favorite? No. All right, so that value causes a lot of consternation inside PCC. And one of the reasons is different people have different interpretations of the word irreverent. It means different things to different people. And it's not right or it's not wrong. For some people, just having the word irreverent means that we are rude or, and I'm not saying this judgmentally, that we're rude or that we are, or that irreverent means sacrilegious to some people. And other people have a different feeling. It means like we like to have fun. Or, I mean, like, irreverent means Owen Levy on stage to me, all right? Because what other EHR vendor has Family Feud like that? No one. And, but what's important with the word irreverent is the first word also, pragmatic, because it's not done for the purpose of being irreverent. It's for the purpose of actually accomplishing something. And that, I will tell you, I'm just saying this as the person who came up with those 2 words. That's how it, when I said it out loud, I was like, oh my God, I got it. You know, it was important to me. But this is, my point is, not everyone feels the same way about it. And that's why, in my mind, our values aren't fully cooked. because everyone needs to understand what pragmatic irreverence means. Everyone needs to have the same feeling about being pragmatically irreverent. And that's why, Karen, you have to do it with your team. And I will say, when we came up with our values, when we were working on our values, it took us like 2 months because we only met for an hour at a time. A little bit more, but it felt like that anyway. And when we were working on our stuff, when we popped up with, first of all, when we were done, the team who worked on it felt pretty good. But then when we rolled it out, a number of people reacted to pragmatic irreverence, and we never really finished the loop. I will say that when we did it, the value that everyone in the room immediately agreed to, like instantly, was when we said humanity over profit. And that one, we're like, okay, check, next value, like that one. And we always say that one first. Yeah, what's that? Yeah, yes. And so that's like, that one worked. But we had to do it as a group. If John Canny had come in and said the values out loud and just put them on the wall, we would have all actually pragmatically, irreverently fought them. All right, that's how we would have done it. So that's why I say. So Karen, you need to go through that exercise with the people you trust in your business. Brian Birch has got his exercises, and this is my last thing. I'm going to let you guys go. The book that I recommend to go through this process, I really like it a lot. It's called People, Building an Intentional Culture. And it's part of the EOS series, like Traction, if you're familiar with that book. If you read Traction as a pediatrician, it's kind of gross. I mean, I like it, but they talk about money all the time. Money is how you measure your success. And the advice I would always give people is erase the word money and put in like vaccines. We're going to maximize our vaccines this year. We're going to maximize our well visits this year. And then you're like, oh, I see, I get it. But it's still pretty mercenary. So People, Building an Intentional Culture, is that the culture piece pulled out of Traction. That's my view of it. The culture piece pulled out of Traction with better, with language and a viewpoint that as pediatricians you'll understand. All right. Well, thank you very much for all the questions. My apologies for rushing the first part, but you got it. It's not that hard. Call PCC.